So Rupesh, we'll begin in a minute.
Yeah. Right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rupesh. I am the head BD India for Association of Proposal Management Professional, APNP, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the APNP India monthly webinar series. Today, we are pleased to present the topic Careers in Bid and Proposal Management. Before I turn things over to our presenter, Mr. Vasudev Murthy, co-chair for APNP India, let us know that today's session is being recorded and also live streamed on YouTube. A link to the recording will be emailed to all the registrants after a few hours after the presentation is over. Meanwhile, you can also go and check out on our APNP India YouTube page. And throughout today's presentation, you are welcome to submit your questions as you think of them. And so please check out the Zoom control panel where you will find the question pane. You can type in your questions there at any time during the presentation, and we will address them towards the end of the program. All right, so I think we are ready to go now. So I'll turn things over to our presenter, Mr. Vasudev Murthy. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rupesh. Very nice of you thanks for the introduction. So everyone, welcome to APMP India's second webinar for the year. Okay, you got my name and I'm the co-chair of APMP India. The chair is actually listening in. You can see his name there, Abhijit Majumdar. He's one of the attendees. Our endeavor is going to be to bring you a constant stream of rich content in the form of webinars, podcasts, and all kinds of good stuff. So this is the place where all the action is. So what I'd like you to do right away, if you haven't done it, is follow APMP India on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. We are everywhere. We are the most exciting place today on the internet, and I'm not kidding you. All right. So today's webinar is going to be an exciting one. I'm pretty sure of it because I know the topic and also I know the two individuals who I'll be speaking with. So we are specifically looking at careers in bid and proposal management, right? So what does a career in this area look like? You know, how do we trace it? What is it? How does it begin? What happens? What are the possibilities as you spend time here? You know, how will you gain? If you get into this area, how should you plan your career? So all these kinds of questions are going to be looked at. And most importantly, we'll have a lot of fun doing it. I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished panelists. We have Shashi and Sunil. Let me introduce you to them for a moment. If you can, and by the way, don't forget to reach out to Shashi and Sunil and me on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with you and talk to you about everything about APMP India and bids and proposals. So Shashi Kukar is a leader, content COE for the content COE at Genpact, right? She had years and years of fantastic experience in bids and proposal management, and she does a lot of stuff about mentoring and so on and so forth. So I'm sure she has a lot of very good insights into what it takes to really excel in this field. Looking forward to that. Sunil Agarwal is the head of commercial excellence of Asia Pac at ISS, which is a Danish firm. And he brings a lot of experience as well. I thought there couldn't be better pair to discuss this. And I have a number of very hopefully provocative questions, you know, to make them come out with interesting stuff. But of course, you know, let me go with the agenda. How are we going to spend an hour and a quarter together? All right. So first, I'll have a series of questions for Sunil and Shashi at about half-hour mark. We'll just give all of you a poll, just 2 questions, just to see how things are going, what you're feeling about you know, progress in this webinar, and then a few more questions, and then we'll open up the floor for questions from you, because that's what we want to do. We want to talk to individuals who are thinking about a career, who are actually in the beginning stages of the career, who probably are at an inflection point. They have some questions, concerns. So this is the right place to be in. So there we are. So quickly, Shashi and Sunil, just let me just ask you directly, can you hear me well? Can you see me? Or seeing me is not so important, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, all right. Am I too loud? All right. Okay. So let me Shashi, with your permission. Well, actually, this is a question for both of you, right? But maybe Shashi, you can start. Tell
Yeah.
us how you started in this field, and how your responsibilities grew to this point. Now, this question might look formal, but I think what I want to say is I think I'm speaking for on behalf of many people who have, well, kind of somehow gotten into this field, perhaps not by design, but by circumstances. Perhaps they created it on their own, or it's just happened, and they're here, they like it, and so on. But let's hear your journey. Let's hear your story of how you are where you are at this moment in the bid and proposal area. Shashi, if you would like to start.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vasu, and glad to be part of an August gathering, I think of 46, and I'm sure that there's some interesting questions and learnings that will come along the way. First and foremost, I think I just very much agree with you that this isn't really a profession that happens by design. To be very honest, I didn't even know that there is a team like this that exists. So you meaning nothing. I come with a content background, and I had no. So you talk marketing, you talk design, but you've never heard about this. So this happened to me 10 years back, and I was part of marketing, and we were working on a project, and that's when the leader for what we called this RFX team is at that point in time, and he just approached me and he said, I need someone to help me on a project. And that project was about, making some sense on, a content library of sorts for bids and proposals. There was a pressure mounting in terms of the quality of the content suddenly. And that is where I actually, stepped in to really help guide his team on something. And as I started to actually, I came with the marketing headset, content headset, and I was just doing all of that. And we were working with a vendor at that point in time. And but this person, actually the leader, and thankfully so, I'm so grateful to him today, he was persistent after that, and he didn't really leave me. And he just kept saying, can I get a copy of you? So, and young as we are, and we think no end of ourselves, like, hey, why would you really want me to take up something such a back-end job? That's how it is. And it's so technical. What am I going to do here? Meaning my role is in doing marketing and stuff. He was persistent. And, lo and behold, thanks to his persistence, 3 months down the line, I was in his team. I was actually looking at, content, which was basically, the corporate type of capability content. We were building a library. I had to set up a editing and design factory. And I was also looking at due diligence. So this is where I started off my journey, my first bearings into, what this piece is. Earlier impressions, chaotic place, nothing seems to work. I used to have huge fights with this leader, and thankfully he gave me the space for it. Again, a very, very myopic view, and like quality, and here there's a speed. And here, like I said, hey, you tell me what you want. You can't get quality in a day, in 2 days. How am I supposed to do that? And today, when I fathom, you see me smiling, and as I talk about it, because yes, that's the reality of this space. Quality and speed go hand in hand. And, through the journey that I can talk about, the 10-year journey, I think was the evolution, right? Moving from the tactical to the strategic, more towards customer orientation, more towards, enabling the customer, the stakeholder, quality, or automation again becomes big if you are talking speed and quality. So I think the journey has been beautiful, and there is a quite a nuance, if I may say, that's been added to me as an individual. One, dealing with people, dealing with technology is something I don't really go into by choice, but this place forced me to. So here am I, and actually I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I'll have Sunil now talk about his journey.
Fantastic. Thanks, Shashi. I'm going to quiz you on a couple of things, but we won't ahead of time. So Sunil, over to you, sir. What happened to you? How are you here?
Same thing, accidents. We are all bid managers by accident, as I told you. And this happened around 10 or 11 years back. I was completing my stint with the Indian Air Force. I served the country for 10 years as an officer in the Indian Air Force. And after 10 years of short service commission, when I was about to come out, I started looking for opportunities which would be suitable for me. Not knowing the corporate world, being from the armed forces thing, you are always hesitant as to what the corporate world looks like, So I contacted some of my friends, and then one of my contacts said that there is this vacancy in his company, and he can revert or he can refer me to that particular role. And I asked what the role was about. He said it says bid manager, which I had no clue about. I didn't mention that to him, obviously, but I asked him to forward the job description, and he sent the job description, which was again Greek to me. This was 2011, when bid management was sort of new in the country, not very well known. Not many people knew about it. So when I consulted a few of my friends, they were equally blank, and they could not provide me with a satisfactory response as to what my job responsibilities will be when I enter this particular role, and if this should be something that I should be actually entering into after serving 10 years for the country. I tried Googling it, and what I found was the responsibility of this person would be to make quotations. Now, when you hear quotations, the thing that comes to your mind is a single page document with some numbers scribbled over it, right? And I was like, why should I get into this role, or why would somebody hire me for writing one-page quotation? Hardly did I know at that point of time what goes into creating that one-page document, be it an executive summary or be it the pricing summary that you create for one page. So I had no other option. So I gave the interview, got selected, and started as a bid manager in Thales working on defense bids. Being from defense, it was no-brainer for me to understand the requirements and work on that. After about 3 years in Thales and 13 years in defense, I wanted to do something different than defense. So I started again looking out. Then I landed into this opportunity with Ericsson and started working on telecom bids. I joined as team lead there and was promoted to the head of bid management in a span of 2 years or so. After about 3 years in Ericsson, I came across an interesting assignment, which was to set up the sales operation or sales enablement center for ISS. It was again an interesting challenge. First of all, it was a new industry domain. I had defense domain background. I knew telecom, and this was facilities management, which was again very new to me. And secondly, it involved functions out of the bid management. So I had known two things. One was technical management operations in defense, another was bid management. And now somebody was telling me to set up something which was entirely outside of bid management arena. But the challenge and the learning possibility was too tempting to leave it, So I grabbed that opportunity and have been in that role now for 4 years, and I'm responsible for the commercial excellence function in Asia Pacific for ISS. This function encompasses of bid management, price management. We have CRM within our function. We have graphics designing as a function within this team, and also knowledge management under the same domain. So
that's pretty significant. So that's a wide range of things. And your point about multiple countries, just as a quick teaser for the people in the audience, we will be having webinars with individuals who have, international social responsibilities. I wonder how that discussion will work in sense. Are things significantly different, for example, in South Africa versus India versus Philippines, Malaysia? We will find out at some point. But again, thank you, Shashi and Sunil. That's great. One of the takeaways, I guess, from both of you is that somehow at this moment in time, we see that a lot of people seem to get into this beautiful area, perhaps by accident. And we want to see if we can change that. That's very important. And that's one of our unsaid missions in APMP. We want this to be a fantastic area, and it is. So on that note, Shashi, I'd like to ask you this question, if I may. How do you spot talent? I don't know if that question is too vague, but now that we have this mission, we are energized about all this. Someone saw you said, and he said, why don't you come and start working? So I guess he spotted talent. So now that you are, I guess, on the other side of the table, how do you spot talent? What happens? What makes somebody appropriate for this area, for this role?
So this is again, And there isn't a very simple, straightforward answer. I think we all know what we are, if you're talking about basic aspects of presence and communication, writing, we all know that, right? But I'll just kind of go through a little bit of do a little bit of a deep dive. If you go to look at what really happens, there are 4 stages when you're looking at, spotting talent. You have your JD, you have your initial screening of the JD, right? Then there is a process of written assessment. And I think in most cases it does happen. And then you have an interview. Now, if you go to look at it, all of these 4 pieces have there is some kind of screening that's happening at every stage, all right? And this actually will be different for lateral hires and for freshers. So if you were to look at someone, coming, I'm looking at a JD, sorry, I'm screening some of the resumes profile for freshers, right? I definitely cannot find something which where you'll have a relevant experience. What you're looking at is basically, you're looking at confidence, coachability, versatility, problem solving skills, quick thinkers, common sense, right? High EQ, winning. And then I think this is something you keep exploring through, through the 4 stages I just mentioned. And most importantly, what you're going to be looking at is they are people who can think on their feet, right? They're not template drivers, right? And they have a process of, thought structuring and storytelling. Your ability to be able to not only solve a problem, but your ability to be able to articulate and put it in words. That's important. For the lateral hires, right, here we are talking about, obviously, when we're looking at people there, talking about domain. So here we definitely would look for people with a deep understanding of the commercial and operational aspects of the business. Now, depending upon which industry, Sunil mentioned defense, IT. So you can talk about whichever industry you're going to be catering to. We need to be ensuring that at least the basics of understanding, I don't say you're an expert on that, but that understanding has to be there. Right. And then, of course, it is about, your ability, because if you talk about bid management, primarily that's actually about, driving actually strategic project management and program management. And that's largely what it is. Right. Then you have, talking about strong client interfacing skills, right? If there is a kind of experience that, you do have some kind of major projects that you have really handled. Now, what are the must-haves that you are looking at here? You're looking at people who've been resourceful, right? Their ability to actually find, unlock, and actually mobilize resources quickly. Now, this includes your money, expertise, skills, support, because you're talking at lateral hires, meaning that you're coming at a senior level. You're not really going to be at the entry doing tactical type of work, right? So your ability to be able to plan, pivot, evaluate, assess, execute, and scale a project. And this is where when you're actually during the interview stage, you're actually clearly seeking answers to some of those, where you're talking about practical exposure to some of those dimensions. Right? Does that answer some of that question?
It certainly does. It certainly does. It's particularly, your point about the senior people. Now, when I say senior, I don't know what is senior. Let's say the age group of 35 to 45, for example, where I presume they've had that experience, they have the self-confidence, and they know what they don't know, etc. But going back to your point about entry level, I just want to focus there a little bit. A young person who lacks confidence, doesn't know what he's got or what she has, you can't expect them to be resourceful and this and do yoga and be a brilliant writer and understand business. So though it's not possible to have a full package like that. Shashi, I think you'll agree, right? Absolutely. So in that circumstances, what is the bare minimum 2 or 3 qualities which says this person, we can do something with this person and make him or her, professional?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, so I think the big part is confidence, right? Because you are actually going to be in a way, some ways running the show. So your ability to be able to, be confident, believe in yourself. Second is coachability, where you're talking about your openness to learn. If you're not really going to be open to learning, of course, like you said, you're never going to get a package. But for you to be able to learn, develop certain skills, you have to be coachable. Right. And the other big part of it is because you're talking about huge amount of stakeholder management, people skills, attention to detail, so many other things. So versatility, your ability to be agile, right? And your familiarity to be able to deal, especially with the freshers and entry folks. I think their USP can be their ease of use of technology. They are very, very good with that.
No
And
doubt,
that is
no doubt.
something, right?
Yeah.
That's something they can actually use as an edge. And of course, like we said, that purely just by the nature of the exposure that you do have, fast thinkers, right? With very common, meaning many a times, when we're talking about, and I've spoken to so many leaders, and when we're talking about quality, and this is just appraisal season. So most people talk about, I'm not asking for, bid management is not rocket science. I'm not asking for expertise. I'm asking for common sense, right? And common sense is not so common, is an unfortunate reality. And what we do is that we focus so much, on the theoretical and academic aspects that we forget the common sense part of it. So it's all about, hey, this is the problem. Is there a simpler way for me to solve this quickly? Because quickly is another big part of it. And I don't think, folks at an entry level can't do that. Yes, they lack experience, but they surely have enough and more. They've seen more of the world. And exposure will certainly help them present them in a good position.
I agree with you violently. So absolutely, especially the part about technology. I think the guys now said the early 20s and mid 20s, they're way smarter than probably what we were at that point. And the way this area is going to evolve from a point of view of technology in the next several years, they are the right fit. They are on the cusp, on the, I guess, beginning of something very, very big. So thanks a lot for Shashi. I'll come back to you on this. So those of you who joined us late, we're having this fantastic webinar on careers in the bid and proposal area. We have two very eminent and well-known speakers, Shashi and Sunil. So I'd like to encourage all of you to speak up, listen carefully, spread the word about this discussion, because this is one of many that we're going to be having. So ask questions. We will be having a fairly prolonged session after this, right after my questions. You can ask Shashi and Sunil anything that you'd like to, okay? Follow our Instagram page, follow our LinkedIn page, follow us everywhere. That's what we are. So Sunil, over to you now, my friend. So Sunil, we heard from Shashi regarding identifying that aptitude, right? Now you found it, and the guy has joined, guy or gal has joined your bid and proposal team, finding it interesting. It involves business, it involves communication, it involves writing, creativity. She's getting it. That person is getting it. So how does one develop a career at this point? Can we articulate it?
Yeah. So developing a career is something that we can do the best, in the bid management or the proposal professionals, as we call them. So if you look at our profession, I believe, is the only profession that gives us this unique ability to interact with every other department of the business, right? With these interactions, we start to understand the tricks of their trade and hence become the jack of all trades, which then gives us this ability to jump into any winning business ecosystem, right? So if you look at the winning business ecosystem, it consists of sales, marketing, operations, projects, finance, business controlling, whatever you want to call them. So if you want to look at a standard journey of a person, he would do bid management, then would go on to become team lead, and then he may go on to becoming the head of the department. And that is the normal theme in any of the functions that you take, right? If you look at finance, a person would be finance controller, then would become business controller, then will become the CFO is the last thing that he can do. But if you look at our profession, so once you reach the head of bid management, or even before, you have ability to jump onto your careers. If you are good at numbers and you have been questioning your pricing, folks, then you can get into business controlling. If you are good at designing, then you can get into marketing field as well. I have seen people jumping from bid management to project managers for the opportunities that they have bid and won, right? So that is also a venue. Or else you can also enhance your horizontal responsibilities and take over sales operations, sales enablement, as I have done in my career, right? So if you have questions on which are the avenues that are available to a bid manager, you can look up to Winning Business Ecosystem Framework, which is available at apmp.org in order to identify all the avenues that are available for us as proposal professionals.
Fantastic. So in terms of thinking strategically that this can be a deliberate career choice, what you're saying, and I'm trying to paraphrase this is one field in which if you're a bit patient, you can actually get exposure to practically a 360-degree view of the entire business. Is that correct?
That is right, 100% correct.
So it's not that, you have to be only doing bids and proposals. It actually prepares you in so many ways for so much else that you can actually do. Your writing gets fine-tuned. You learn how to write well, write tightly, with an impact and so on. You learn how to interface with people. Well, I think we're getting the idea. So those of you listening in, hear the words of wisdom from Sunil. This is actually, I would say, in driving, you call it a blind spot. I say that in organizations, sometimes people don't realize the blind spot where the real treasures are in the bid and proposal management area. These guys know a lot of stuff, and it's time now for them to come up. So thanks for that. Anything else you'd like to say Sunil?
Yes, so I would like to add one more point there, and this is an interesting point. So with the intentional career path committee that we have from APMP International, and with the initiatives that we are driving in APMP India, we went to many colleges to explain and create awareness about our profession, right? And this was one institute of technology where we went into Pune, Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, where we gave the first webinar as to what the profession is all about, because nobody knows about management profession. And questions that came out from those people were very interesting. In fact, when we were a bit apprehensive because we were going into an engineering college, we never knew that. We always thought this to be a business school course rather than an engineering school course. And when we went there, the questions were like, well, it gives us the ability to write, it gives us the ability to win bids. Can we also become entrepreneurs if you do this course? Look at the thing that the youngsters are thinking about, right? We are thinking whether we can go into from bid management, can we land up into sales, can we land up into finance? But they're 2 steps ahead. They're saying, can we become entrepreneurs if we learn the skills and the tricks of all the trades that it teaches us?
Okay. That's truly fantastic. That's truly fantastic. Thank you, Sunil. I'll come back to you because there's a question I have follow up, but I'll just shift to Shashi for just a moment. So Shashi, you spoke about the things that you're looking for and so on and so forth. But obviously, we all know in this business, and by the way, incidentally, this talk is not only about IT. It covers all kinds of fields, whether it's manufacturing or pharmacy or whatever. The bid and proposal management field is across the board, across all verticals. So that's why I'm trying to make it a bit general here. So my question to you here is, right, you got into that place, you have the aptitude to think on their feet. You mentioned lots of very good points. Now, after that, what are the new skills that they need to be deliberately working on acquiring? I'm saying not by accident, in the sense that the manager doesn't say, okay, why don't you seem to be free, why don't you go and attend this course? So they need to, make their own path. So what are those skills that these young folks in the bids and proposal area need to work on acquiring? And I have a follow-up question on that, but please, if you can respond to this first one.
Sure. So Vasu, that's an interesting one because, and for that, I think you just take a step back and let's understand what is the ecosystem we are operating in today, right? Things are changing, okay? Today, we have shorter deal cycles. There's a 20 to 30% reduction in the, time for a deal submission. Right? There is a convergence happening on the service offerings, which has led to increased competition and which in turn is leading to a shift from a reactive to a proactive deals, right? We all know the, innovation as we talk about the tech and the analytics, they're becoming definitely big, okay? And that in turn is also leading to, more partner-driven, bundled type of deals, right? What clients are looking at the other hand, is that they are actually prioritizing partnerships over transactions, right? Okay, and that I think is the biggest shift. We're talking about someone who can solve your problem, then actually give you a quick fix on a part of your problem, right? Now, if this is the ecosystem we're operating in, right, what does it really mean for us as a proposal professional? The first and the foremost thing is that the cookie cutter approach ain't working any longer, right? Plain vanilla content not going in, right? We're talking about very insightful, very meaningful content that is really needed. Creative, if I were, let me not use the word content, rather call it, more creative solutions, right? And which, of course, is asking for much, much more. The importance of the capture management, right, becomes extremely important. Gathering insights, building connections, right, developing competitive intelligence, right, and so that you can have the right winning strategies, right, because that is what we will actually be able to differentiate the winner from the laggard, right, and that because we're talking competition, right. So when you're talking about all of these aspects, what we're talking about is knowledge of the industry, client, geography, right? You're talking about prioritization, time management, that's a given, correct? But more importantly, I think if I were to move towards, what exactly from a bid management perspective, what are those 2-3 skills that really separate an average proposal manager from a great one?
Okay.
Yeah. And that is, I think, what I like what Sunil just said, the ability to be able to question, your SMEs. And I'll just kind of, so most of us actually, what happens is that, you have a JD, right? Adhering to the JD is about compliance, right? And then actually, executing a project is about deadlines. Right. Now, this is not, if we really take this job description and work, as seriously as that, we aren't landing a penny win. And I think no wonder with such a scenario, you actually feel many of us, right, start feeling jaded. There's a sense of powerlessness that actually sets in, right? So what exactly are we really, what are we talking skills? What are we looking at? We're looking at your ability to be able to really add that value, right? You people who can work more proactively, people who can challenge their stakeholders, people who can come up with creative strategies, right? And they are not people who just react to the day-to-day situations, right? They are people who actually will or should be able to influence proposal content. They should be able to tell bad content from the good one, right? And so that's about proposal quality. Now, whenever we talk about some of these aspects, we tend to believe, hey, I'm not an expert in the domain. I'm not an SME. That, trust me, again, this is not rocket science. We're just talking about, keen listening skills, right? Common sense, putting 2 and 2 together, reading the RFP very, very diligently, doing a little bit of that research, right? And I think, trust me, you'll be surprised at this is all that people are asking for.
That's very insightful, Shashi, because in fact, I ended up answering the second question that I had, which was about other kinds of what is misleadingly called soft skills, which I don't think are soft at all. They're very critical strategic skills, especially with stakeholders who don't understand what goes into actually writing a proposal. So managing them diplomatically, the listening, as you said, I think you talked about that. Because everyone's so eager to demonstrate they know something that they keep talking and they don't listen enough. So that's very profound and significant advice. Sincerely appreciate that. Okay, so you answered the second question, so good for you. Again, guys, we're having a fantastic discussion on bid and career management over here. And I think this might be a good time. If Tirthankar, you're here, would it be possible for you to execute the poll? We'd like to find out what people are thinking about, a few things in the career. If Tirthankar, are you here? Would you be able to execute it? There we go. So here we are, guys. There's a poll up here. Would you just take a moment? There's just 2 questions. It won't take you more than 60 seconds to quickly answer them. Over to you, sir. Over to you, each of you. And I'll wait. Thanks, Shashi. Nice response. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You can answer this question too. It's okay, Shashi. If you're seeing the poll.
Unfortunately, I don't have the rights. I can't vote.
Yeah, it's not allowed to vote.
Oh, we're not allowed, is it? Oh, that's too bad. Okay. All right. We'll wait for someone to tell us that the poll is closed. I presume it might be any moment now. So, fine. let me go ahead now. Over to, here we are. We're getting some answers. Good. Take a look, guys. This is for all of you. Okay, we have a nice spread. A lot of young folks. That's very nice to know. We hope this is helping you a little bit. Yeah. Good. Yep. There we go. Good. Nice. Wonderful. Since we see the second question is saying something, and I think that's the right time for me now to ask you, in particular, Sunil, about this in the context of this question, right? Which is we talked about it earlier as well. You know, why would you make this a deliberate career choice? And we all kind of answered it by saying this is one incredible area with which you can actually go places. I think you'll agree with me, right? So, but the question here is, of course, and this is now a very serious professional. There's an ecosystem, Sunil. Right, there are people who are passionate about this. All kinds of wonderful things are happening, and there's APMP. So, from a career perspective, a development perspective, in your opinion, does it even matter whether you get a certification or not? Keep APMP aside for a moment, but does a certification actually matter in this area?
I would rather take the first question, whether I would answer the certification part later, whether we need
Sure.
a membership or not.
Okay.
Be it APMP or be it of a professional organization similar to APMP. Here we are talking about APMP, so I would restrict myself to APMP.
Sure.
So what I have seen is that our profession lacks the belongingness that that every other profession gets into the organization, right? So the APMP membership gives us that sense of belongingness to a community, right?
Lovely.
Our profession is very diverse. And it forms different parts in different kind of industry organizations. I have been a part of an organization where bid management was part of project team or the operations department. And in most of the companies, bid management falls a part of the sales and marketing department.
I see.
So since the departments are different, the bid and proposal professionals are working in different silos, I would say. And besides, our profession is not mainstream profession like sales, finance, HR. Right? So it is very likely for the proposal professionals who are so hardworking, who spend sleepless nights working on bids, but are not thanked and credited enough, to lose their motivation and lose their path.
Right.
So this APMP membership helps the proposal professionals get the required recognition, required motivation, and the sense of belongingness to a community. Here they get to see each other, they get to see each other's the pain points, gain points, and then interact amongst each others to learn what are the new skills that they can develop and utilize in their own companies.
Like best practices, for example, from other places. Yes.
Exactly. And throughout my career, my 10 years of corporate career, I have always used these learnings, which I get from my network, from people like you, people like Shashi, people like Abhijit, Rupesh, and everyone. And I've gone back and used those in my company, and which have been proven immensely useful to my career. Now that is about the membership part of it. Certification, any sort of certification. Why do we pass out 10th? Why do we do 12th standard? Why do we do engineering? Why do we do MBA? Why do we opt for some professional certifications just to add a star to our resume? Right? It adds a star. Not only does it add a star, but it gives us a skill, which Shashi was talking about. If we want to know about bid management, if we want to learn the skills or the tricks of our trade, we need to study. And if we are studying, then why not we get certified as well?
Yeah, sure. And of course, the multiple levels of certification, which shows that we have thought about it. The seriousness of this profession is very profound now. So anyone contemplating this is very serious stuff. This is a place where I think in the next 10 years you're going to see APMP as an umbrella organization expand tremendously, and APMP India in particular is going to do very, very well, thanks to efforts from people like Shashi and Sunil. So thanks a lot for that perspective.
If I may just to add to that, I actually did my certification, I think 2 years back, and I can just tell you, when Sunil was just talking about it, why not, when you're studying for it, why not give the exam? I must tell you, there's a certain thrill to it. You go back to school days and talking about, and it's an adrenal rush of sorts. There is a fearfulness, despite having, spent so much time doing what we do and preaching to the choir, right? It's a different feel altogether, right? And the joy when you see the certification that, oh, you cleared it. So
Right.
it is in any way, it's an acknowledgement,
Yes.
from a body which is an expert in that domain, right? And when you get credited by that body, you say, okay, fine, you belong there, and you've done something right, something of it. I think that adds to your inner confidence as you walk through the corridors of what we call at the back.
Right. And Shashi and Sunil, on this point, it gives us a little bit of, I will say, influence or heft with HR folks, for example. When you're searching for a job and so on and so forth. Now, it's also true that a lot of HR professionals at this stage are not necessarily knowledgeable about APMP, but that's all right. It's an opportunity to tell them, look, I have bid and proposal writing on my resume, and I'm actually certified to do so. So, well, that's a few marks to you. And again, going back to Sunil and your point, that sense of brotherhood, we are seeing a tremendous amount of traction, certainly in India and worldwide. So this is the right place to be. All the right signals are there. So we'd be very happy if you join us. Now, on the other hand, just stepping back quickly, Shashi, you talked a little bit about a sense of confusion or I don't know if you use the word burnout, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So I think we had a lovely podcast from you, which is probably going to be released today, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us a little bit about that podcast?
Sure. So, meaning it's a kind of, you're making it a teaser of sorts.
Yeah.
But I love the energy. So again, I think, burnout, we don't want to use the word. It's a dreaded word, but let me just understand that's a reality of our world.
Right.
I think chocobo calendars, you're talking about working across global clocks and, meaning, trust me, this isn't really a very sustainable thing day after day.
Right.
And many of them, and I did mention that, especially if we really keep the approach very, very tactical, right? Of just kind of putting over a call, getting onto the call, not even listening, right? And just kind of, going there back to back. I think it can be maddening, deafening, if I may say. And I think that perhaps is the worst thing that we can actually let happen to ourselves. So while our profession demands what it demands, it is important. Self-care is important, right? And it is, I speak in the podcast about 3 hours, and which is basically recognizing that there is a problem when too much is too much, learning to say no, right? And, then it is about actually ensuring, making sure that you have a community of people who remind you of your larger goals. And then, of course, it's about the resilience, developing the resilience of, how do you really manage your profession, which means whether it's spirituality, meditation, music, nature walks, whatever works for you, right? Having that place of Zen, whatever that gives you. But it is important, and more importantly, relationships. Meaning we got to be finding time for that. We aren't machines. And I don't think we are anytime machines are replacing us. Never mind, you're talking about AI and NLP. We, as the human beings who bring that emotional touch, we will always be in demand, right? And for that, we need to have our sanity in place. So it's important we connect with human beings. We find space for ourselves, our families, do what we think we need to do, and along with, of course, the excellence in the job that we are all looking for.
Very nice. Very, very well, I would even say moving. Thank you for the sensitivity. We really appreciate it. And for those of you on the call, Shashi will be leading a discussion, a panel discussion quite like this on March 8th on Women's Day, which I believe it is. And you'll be talking about specific issues specific to women in this professional. I'm certainly looking forward to that very enlightening talk, which is going to be. So thank you, folks. I think with your permission, Shashi and Sunil, may I now switch over and let's see if we can answer some of the questions that are popping up over here. I will ask the question, and let's have. I see a number of questions, so I don't expect you to go into great detail. If people are asking questions or even otherwise would like to get in touch with us, please write to us. I think the details are available and we will get back to you. Our goal is very clear. Apmp India we're going to expand in a very rapid way with lots of very exciting activities happening You're seeing this happening as we speak. So we will respond to you. We will encourage your profession, your career rather. So hang in there. So let me start by asking some questions, taking some questions here. The questions may repeat in some way. So, but still, let's extend the courtesy of a very quick condensed reply to some of the questions, which may look like they've been asked before. I'm looking at them right now. So I'll take the first one. This is from Vishal. I am working in the building systems domain as a system integrator for fire system, access control, plumbing system, etc. How relevant is APMP for me? So do you think, Sunil, this is interesting for you?
Yeah,
quickly respond?
I can answer that. It depends
Please.
upon Vishal, what you want to do. If you want to get into bid management, sales management, then APMP is very relevant for you. So it doesn't matter whether you are into building systems administration, you are into defense industry like I was, you are into facilities management domain, like I see one more question down there. So I think irrespective of the industry, APMP gives you the basic skill set which is needed for you to work on deals, right? So I think that's all that I want to say, unless she wants to add something to this.
No, I think you've said it beautifully. I think
that's fine. Okay, good. Next question is from Prithvish Suryamindra. He says, I have 12 years of experience in proposals, contracts, pricing, and procurement, largely in clinical operations in the pharma vertical. What are the chances to get an opportunity to work on in the technology vertical? Does APMP certification become mandatory to laterally move to another vertical? Anyone?
I can do that. So,
okay.
Sorry, who is it coming
His
from?
name is Prithvish Suryamindra.
Prithvish, so again, to the same, I think the point that Sunil was making, it doesn't really matter, while of course domain and expertise is important, right? So APMP is not guaranteeing you a domain. It is actually more about the bid management process understanding, right? How does that really work? And that can actually go across any of the industries that you could be working in. So yes, that certification, I think the things we spoke about earlier, APMP is bigger, you belong to an ocean rather than a frog, being a frog in the well. And that I think is actually the USP of having an APMP certification.
Now he has used the word mandatory, right? So I don't know if anything is actually mandatory, right? But it's obviously because of the rigor involved in understanding the process, which you so well said, it becomes obviously an advantage to have a certification. But I don't think anyone will ever say it's mandatory. Okay, right. Next question from Anshuman. In my 4 years of experience, I have worked 2 years with commercial APAC proposals, then shifted to US federal proposals, both IT services. Should I broaden the scope of proposals that I work on? I have an offer from a company which is into commercial real estate. Should I make a switch to stay relevant, or should I stick to a particular niche of IT?
Let me take that, Vasu.
Okay.
First of all, commercial real estate, that is something that I am into. So I'm sure my competitor is the one who's offering you a role, and I would want to know that. But besides that, so it doesn't harm you to change industries. I have done that twice. What it gives you definitely is learning, and what it also gives you is application of those learning into the new industry that you are going into. And that is what I did, and that is what made me so successful what I am today. So I came from defense industry. I learned tricks there. I applied that to my telecom industry, which were new to them. And from these two domains, I'm now applying my knowledge into the facilities management business in which I am. So from my side, if I tell you it is a definite must, you should switch over in order to broaden your horizon so that you can then go on to become something bigger and larger role in your life.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sunil.
If I may just add to that.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a addition to what Sunil has just said. So while of course in the early stages of your career, this the breadth is important because it gives you a wider canvas, right? Over a period of time, it is important to develop depth as well. And after exposure that you've had, try and actually see and choose what is your niche. Where do you think you can add value? Because like we've been talking about, there isn't really a cookie cutter approach that's working. We more and more the generalist type of people in any profession aren't really going to be in great demand. You will require people who have an expertise, a niche in a certain area. So develop that niche, in whatever that area is. But like what Sunil said, early years, I think if you can just explore, it gives you a wider canvas.
Fantastic. Thank you. There's another question, second question from Vishal. And I won't take a third one from you, Vishal, if you don't mind. So for entry level, how do soft skills like use of graphic design software and MS Office matter? A quick response from either of you.
Shall I go there? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Vishal was the person, Vasu? Yeah. Hey, Vishal. So, interestingly, when you're talking about today, we are talking, shorter turnaround cycle, people actually losing the patience and, and time to really go through, pages and pages of content, right? What they're looking at is that they want people who can actually come up with innovative, creative solutions really and present that content in a concise manner. So this meaning, I think, ever than ever before, this particular aspect, the creative aspect, right, is becoming important in this profession. So one aspect, of course, is the meat of the content, the solution, and the other is how do you really present it that it becomes actually understandable, readable, easy to consume, the bit-sized piece of it. I think that is making a difference. So yes, it's extremely relevant, in this profession.
Good. Thank you.
I just add to that, MS Office is important at any level, be it entry level, be it senior level or senior most level. MS Office is the bread and butter for all the proposal professionals.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question from Gemma Waring. I hope I pronounced your name right, Gemma, but I'm sure you won't mind. I'll get it corrected later. What would you say are the top 3 qualities you would look for in a potential new recruit in your bid team?
Shashi, you already answered that. Maybe you want to quickly repeat that.
Yeah. So, like we said earlier, that your ability to be able to, show versatility, ability to be able to learn, right? Quick problem-solving skills, ability to be not a template driver, ability to question, ask, probe, is early days of your career. This is what we would be looking for. And of course, confidence and the confidence, communication, all of them, those are hygiene.
Many of those things are maybe difficult at the interview stage when you're just talking to them, because so what are that 1 or 2 things that you at that interview you would be, your radar would be going around to check? What would that be?
I think that's one big piece is the communication. And when I say communication, 90% of your communication is nonverbal. Most of us forget that, when you're talking body language and you say, okay, fine, it doesn't really matter how I dress up. It doesn't matter, but then you like what you see. And when you're especially in a virtual world, when you're talking about, you're trying to, get the understanding of someone, what you definitely is that you need to be presentable, which means professional, right? You can have pink hair, lovely, and you can, of course, you're looking cool. But then I think this job's demands much more. So you'll put me in a little bit of an apprehensive mood if I see you like that, because while I'm looking for a rock star, I'm not looking for a rock star of a literal rock star in my
yeah,
office.
I got that.
And similarly, when I'm actually communicating, again, this piece is all about persuasive writing, persuasive communication. Are you able to really communicate what your brand is all about? Who are you? And what do you think you can bring to the table? So, very succinctly put, actually, it's all about communication, executive presence, and your ability to be able to really showcase your value proposition, right? I think that's what it is, if I can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shashi. Okay, here another question. Again, in the interest of time, Sunil and Shashi, you're most welcome to compress your answers, because there's a lot we can say for pretty much everything. I want to make sure I get a chance to ask everyone's question. So this is from Dinesh. How does a bid manager see his career, let's say 15 to 20 years down the line? Is it possible to switch? And if it is, how difficult is it to switch to sales?
Yeah, we already covered this when we were covering the initial set of questions, and I think it is not at all. By the way, nothing is difficult if you have to move, and moving from a bid manager to sales is the easiest thing that you can do, because you have already done half part of it. Okay.
Very good. Another question from Dinesh, the last one I'll take from him. How much tech knowledge does a bid manager have in his field? Is it a deal breaker?
So again, you earlier, I think someone used the word mandatory, right, for the certification. Similarly, I think I would refrain from using the word deal breaker. But in a world that's actually driven by technology and analytics, right, it'll be difficult for you to survive in the profession because you're talking about agility, you're talking about, things moving fast, deal cycles becoming, faster, all of that. So I think, meaning, and if technology, you don't even need to be a technology expert, but you definitely need to have an understanding and have the ability to be able to use technology to your advantage.
Great.
I hope that
Thanks.
answers that.
Yeah, I think it does. I think there's another question from Vishal, but I feel Shashi already answered that. Vishal asked, being proactive in bid and proposal management leads to quick burnout. What's your thought on that? And I think you gave a fairly extended question. I want to ask you to repeat that. And if you want to look at it, you can please look at the recording again. Okay. Next question from Amit Sawant. When would a proposal professional start looking for APMP recognition at what career level?
Yep. So I think the minimum certification that we need is, I think it is 2 years for the basic foundation level certification. So I think once you have understood the profession for 2 years, go for the foundation certification to get an edge over the other 2 years proposal professionals. And once you have enough knowledge, then you can start becoming the practitioner or the professional. Right.
All right, good. Pratik has asked this question, which has already been asked, but I'll repeat the question. But I won't expect an answer from you. I will answer it. In fact, little confused. I have 4 years of experience. How practical and beneficial it is to change the industry. And Sunil has said that if in a career, in this kind of business, in this kind of career, it's a perfectly fine thing. I'm repeating what you said, Sunil. Go ahead and change. If you want to try something new, don't be in the same place all the time. So he says, if I'm a pharma sector, wanted to land into IT sector, is it possible? Well, as he said, anything is possible. It's entirely up to how much you can persuade somebody else. Do I need technical skill set as well, or just bid management knowledge will help? Let's answer this question a little bit. Sunil, would you like to repeat that?
Yeah. So it depends upon the kind of industry you're going into. So when I was doing defense domain bids, domain knowledge was important. But when I went into technical IT and telecom, domain knowledge was not that important because IT and telecom is a very dynamic industry and the technology keeps changing very frequently. So you have the SMEs to support you. So there it was about the bid management knowledge that was required. Again, in facilities management, it is quick, you can learn it on your own. So I don't think so. As Shashi had mentioned earlier, the most important thing is learning ability or coachability, as Shashi referred to. So I think even if you have the bid management knowledge and you do not have any technical skills related to the pharma sector or the IT sector, you can definitely jump onto it. And if you have the coachability skill set or the learning ability skill set, you will learn quickly there.
Great. Naveen has this question. It's kind of partially answered. How can I move from bid management to business development? But the second question, which I think you answered already, but the important question is, can APMP certification help in this transition? Sunil, you're muted. You're muted.
So the capture management, capture practitioner certification is the one that would be helpful for you in case you want to move from bid management to business development. It will teach you the tricks of how do you do the capture management. So again, I think that is one certification that you can look for in case you want to move into business development.
Here's a question from Mohammed Ibrahim. I have been in the bid proposal team for the past 4 years. Recently switched to business development. In what way does APMP certification give an advantage to my career? I think you answered it a few times. If you don't mind, I will skip this question. But Mohammed, if you're not satisfied, you're most welcome to write to us. We will patiently respond. But it looks like this question has been asked again, okay, previously rather. So here's a question from Suresh Shah. I'm a business analyst proposal writer with 2 years of experience here. I want to know, will my experience in proposal management help me if I want to land in an IT business analyst role? If not, what skills should I learn? I'm not sure who can answer this. So basically, you're talking about moving out of this area. I think that's what I understood, right?
We don't allow that.
Of course you do.
तुम आते अपनी मर्जी से हो, जाते हमारी मर्जी से हो, जो हिंदी फिल्म. Yeah. So in terms of skill sets, see, I cannot answer what skills are needed for business analyst, but you have the preliminary skills in terms of knowing the market, researching about the market in your business.
Right.
proposal
Right.
management role. So I think you have the preliminary skill set, but in case it requires you to learn about other tools like Power BI or CRM analytics, all of those things, and I think you will need to acquire that in order to land into those roles.
Yep. Fair enough. Mr. Saha has asked this question, Mr. Bidarshi Saha. Do HR recruitment consultants in Indian companies ask for Pmp certification while hiring? That's a very good question. Anyone?
Yeah, so I don't think anyone is really asking, like, again, this is going back to the same thing of mandatory. So people aren't really going to ask you as a qualification criteria, if I may say, but, it's an add-on. That's it. It adds to your credibility. But no one is really, sorry.
More nowadays, what I have started seeing is Apmp certification preferred at the bottom of
Yes, I have.
People have started recognizing the value of certification, and they've started adding that to the job descriptions.
So this also points, in my opinion, Sunil, that a lot of HR folks are waking up to this. They're understanding this, that this is shows a certain level of, well, a filter has been applied. So that's good. I think that's all good news for us, right? Okay. Nice question, Mr. Saha. Okay, next question. Again, this has already been asked, but I'm repeating. Mr. Mayank Sharma has asked, how can one with experience in bid and proposal management plan a move to perhaps sales or a role like a CAL? I don't know what is a CAL. You've already answered this, Sunil, so if you don't mind, I will skip it. Next one is from Ms. Anusha Fatima. Could you suggest a few tools and software that can help us develop a succinct proposal? Another question I asked previously, could you please suggest if there are any reading materials, references available to help us pass the Pmp certification?
Yes, so I can take that. So in case you want to get certification, become an Apmp member, and you would get the Apmp body of knowledge on the Apmp website, which you can study to pass. I don't think you need anything else apart from reading the BOK. By reading the BOK, you would be able to pass the certification if you have enough experience in your hands on bid and proposal management. Coming to the first question about tools and software, there are a lot of softwares or tools available in the market today about proposal automation. Some of the ones which I know of and have worked upon is RFP.io, Loop.io, lateral thread, or some. There are Chorus. There are a lot of these which are available in the market, and visible thread. Sorry, not lateral thread. So all of these you can look up into market, and every software has its own USP. So whichever suits your organization, you can use that in case you want to use it.
But to the question that was asked earlier, I think you have to excuse me here, but unless you have really figured out the normal writing process of a proposal, moving to automation or tool-oriented thing may not be a very good thing at an early stage, and because that's when the automation happens. That's when you're able to go and check whether what has happened actually is what you intended. Certain language nuances, for example, I don't know if tools can actually do the trick, because sometimes language matters as well, right?
Yeah, so the tools only will give you the initial draft. Customizing that to the customer requirement will always need to be done, irrespective of how intelligent the AI becomes.
That's right.
You will still need to understand the implicit and explicit requirements of the customer's pain points, and you'll have to craft your proposals or customize your proposals in order to suit them.
But today, Vasu, to your point on basic hygiene, I think you do have tools on editorial. Where you talk about Grammarly is, of course, the most well-known one, and then you have Perfect IT. So they are so for example, Perfect IT will throw you suggestions even on sentence construction, but then you have to have a basic understanding for you to be able to even choose there. It actually points out similarly you can judge on the readability aspect of it, and so those tools are available, but some understanding for you to be able to know what to do next has to be, of course, coming from you.
So the next question is directly for you. It's from Mr. Nitin Mathur. He says, I have 18 years of experience with around 12 years in bids and proposals, but now I'm feeling I'm stagnant in my career growth. Also, I feel bid managers are seen as enablers, not the mainstream professionals. My observations, the remunerations are a constraint in the industry, seeking suggestions for next step of career growth. Very fair question. Who would like to take that?
I can try. So I think, and this is the reality, and I think we, in some ways, we did speak about it. So, there are pluses and minuses in every profession. right? And the pluses, the minuses here is that this is a roller coaster ride. Okay, one after the other, you don't really get a breather, and you're just moving from one rail to the other. And that often, has a repercussion of us not being able to find time to be able to explore things outside beyond what we really do, right? So while I think one of the things we need to be as professionals in any domain, right? We need to be actually ensuring that there is learning, constant learning that is happening, and awareness of what's really happening in the industry that we operate in is extremely important. Because if you've got to be staying relevant, it is something that, we'll have to do. The other part, the other big element is that this profession, and Sunil has already spoken about earlier, and we've touched upon in many questions, is this, there are many basic skills that this particular role and profession provides you. And they actually could be valid in, for example, any team management role, any leadership role, any writing. When you're talking about writing, any leader has to persuade the team. It's a must have, right? So it is there isn't really stagnancy, is more in your head if you decide to. So depending upon what you really want, first important, what exactly do you want to do, right? And I'd really want to say, rely on your core skills, don't give that up. That is certainly, having you spent 18 years in this place, you would definitely have something that is called your USP. What is that USP, right? Where exactly, will this USP fit in beautifully? And that's, I think, take your leap of faith and go ahead and really do that. Because starting afresh is always a great idea, but 18 years, also gives you that edge and the expertise. So take that judicious, wise decision, use discretion, but rely on your core strengths as you leap into new things. Sunil, if you want to add, please do.
No, you nailed that, Shashi. So nothing else to add on that.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm just going to take 3 questions, all of which can be answered fairly quickly, right? So the first one is, how does the role of bid manager help you if an aspiring project manager? Is that something that Sunil, you think you can answer?
I already told that I have seen people moving from bid management to project management for the opportunities which they won, right? So if you are aspiring to be a project manager for one of the opportunities that you are bidding, make sure that you know everything about the bid that you are going to submit to the customer, and make sure that you win that, so that you can then apply for the same project manager's role. Yeah. In case you want to learn new things, in case you want to get certification, I know there are ample of certifications available in market for being project managers. And since you were the bid manager on that particular opportunity, you would definitely know the entire thing that was casted out, right, in the proposal. So what are the milestones that you have written down? What is the actual proposal, or what is the actual solution that you're offering? So you know everything, and you can be the easiest one to become the project manager for that particular thing. Vasu, you're on mute.
Sorry, one more question, which is directly for you, a simple answer. This is from Rahul. I don't know the last name. Sunil, you mentioned about automation. Is it a threat or a complement in the long run for bid managers?
I would rather take it as a compliment as compared to threat. It helps you sleep well at night because it does half the work for you. Whereas I do not consider that as a threat. As I told you, irrespective of the automation that you bring in, the personal touch that you can add on to your proposals with respect to the needs, the pain points, the implicit requirements that the customer has been discussing with you, no automation can bring that into it. So a compliment more than a threat, but you have to live to it, right? So you have to upgrade yourself, you have to keep up the speed so that that doesn't become a threat tomorrow. If your proposal is as good as the automated proposal, then that will become a threat to you.
Great. So this is one question which I will go ahead and answer right now. This is from Mr. Nabil Kandrikar. Could you please suggest how to avail foundation certificate, any preferred platform, cost associated? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the email ID of Mr. Rupesh Kumar. I suggest you respond to that because it's not the intent of this particular call. Please drop him an email. Here is his email. I just said it on the chat. Okay, Rupesh.Kumar. So you can do that. And other questions on this, we also have from Manas Kumar. He talks about this. So I hope this preceding session, which will also be available on YouTube, I think, Mr. Manas Kumar, your question can also be answered there. All right. So we have a number of other questions. I think by and large, many of them are repeats or else rephrasing of the same questions. So with that, I think it would be a fair thing. It's been about 10 minutes about allotted time. I'd like to know, Shashi, from you and from Sunil, any last words on this? Anything you'd like to say by means of encouraging and motivating, folks who want to get a career in this area?
Sunil, would you want to go? I think, I know it's the ladies first, but I think let's close with the lady.
No, so as we all mentioned, learning ability is the must, and in order to grow from where you are in your proposal career can give you a number of opportunities where you can land up into. But you need to keep yourself updated. You need to keep learning, keep educating, keep developing yourself in order to take those opportunities moving forward.
Thanks, Sunil. So, I think we've hopped enough and more about, that there is a wide number of skills that this profession is actually adding to you, but continuous honing of that skills, testing and actually improving on that is, I think, a must. No matter how many years that you've spent in the profession, whether it's you're a beginner or 20 years into the profession, there's always something new to learn, and that is actually what's going to come handy for you. The second, I think, big part, which I have a lot of emphasis anyway, relationships. The world still runs on relationships, and while we're talking business, we are talking money, we're talking commercials, right? This particular profession also gives you relationships. Which you form such a tight network of people, everyone virtually in the organization. And I think that sooner or later, in some tangible or intangible form, is going to be helpful.
Fantastic. Really, really lovely words from both of you, Sunil and Shashi. Really sincerely appreciate it. So with that, we're coming to a close. Just keep in mind, Shashi's podcast should be released today. She talks about challenges you face while in a repeat mode of proposal writing that's coming up. And the next big webinar is going to be on the 8th of March on specifically addressing issues for women in this particular area. So in the same spirit, we're going to have a continuous stream of these kinds of webinars, podcasts, and interviews and so on. We'd love to have all of you attend, ask questions. With that, I want to thank everyone for having shown up today. Please do follow us on LinkedIn. We have a good community going there. Also, Instagram, post your, pictures of you writing, proposals. That'll be fun. So do that. That'll be great. But with that, I'll come to a close. If you have any questions, please make sure you write to Rupesh. Rupesh will be happy to forward them to us, and we will respond to you right away. So with that, can we come to a close, folks? Shashi, Sunil, is that all right? Yeah, Rupesh. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. And I hope we answered all your questions. If we didn't, again, write to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And do fill the feedback. Do give you some feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vasu, for the energy. Can't really close without that. So I think you kept us smiling through and through. Of course, the learnings are always great. So thank you so much for a wonderful evening.